And soon we'll be looking at just how far Britain has fallen with the shameful arrest of Graham Linehan. But Britain is not alone in losing its way. Just look at what is happening in Australia right now with the attacks against free speech, attacks against speaking the truth. We reached a point in this country where you need to issue a statement or apology for merely stating uncomfortable truths, even when those truths are bleeding obvious. Look at the hysteria around what Senator Jacinta Price said this week. It should not be controversial to note the astonishing rate of Indian migration in recent years, or the equally astonishing voting patterns of those with Indian heritage. Listen to Labor pollster Kos Samaras here speaking about the percentage of Indian migrants backing Labor.
There are things in their base, bits and pieces in their base, which are massive. Like, 85% of the Indian diaspora voted for the Labor Party at the last election, or thereabouts. It varies across the country.
What was the number, sorry, Kos?
About 85%. In our polling, whenever we poll them, they're about that, two-party preferred. Huge numbers.
Huge numbers indeed. Those figures present an enormous challenge for the coalition and have the potential to change the course of elections for years to come. The Indian community is already the second largest migrant group in the country, with numbers nearing 1 million. And it's also growing faster than any other migrant group. To give you an idea of how dramatic that increase has been, in 2013, the Indian-born population in this country was 378,000. By June 2023, just 10 years, it had grown to over 845,000, and it has grown considerably since. But the usual suspects in the Liberal Party are wetting the bed because during a broad discussion about mass migration, this was on the ABC, Senator Jacinta Price made the point that one of the reasons Labor has brought in record numbers in the past 3 years is the belief that it will boost their vote. And she noted the Indian intake.
There is a concern with the Indian community, and only because there's been large numbers, and we can see that reflected in the way that the community votes for Labor at the same time.
Cue the outrage. Senator Price was almost immediately attacked by Labor, the Greens and, sadly, elements of her own party. And she released a statement clarifying things that did not need clarification. She wrote, "Australia maintains a long-standing and bipartisan non-discriminatory migration policy." But that didn't stop the most vicious and hyperbolic attacks from Labor's dullest bully boys like Julian Hill. Here he is on the ABC with Patricia Karvelis and Jane Hume. Now get ready to be assailed by weapon-grade straw manning and gaslighting.
You've got a senior Liberal frontbencher going on television smearing nearly 1 million Australians who happen to have Indian heritage contributing to this country. I read the transcript and, it was a good interview, PK. Well done for you for teasing all of this out. But two things about it. One, it was absolutely bonkers. It was incoherent. It was all over the shop. It belonged on Sky After Dark, which is obviously Jacinta Price's happy place. But two, there were literally racist tropes being spread, suggesting that all people of a particular race vote one way as if they're Daleks with one brain cell. That is racist, it's offensive. But then she drifted on into the welfare nonsense that sort of implies that people come here to get on welfare. Well, I'll tell you the data. Australians of Indian heritage are more likely to be employed than your average Aussie. They work 2 jobs, they work hard, they contribute just like generations of migrants before, and many of them were born here, as were their parents and their grandparents. It's racist, and the fact that, one, she can't apologise, and two, this Liberal Party of today kind of crab walks around it and away from it instead of saying that is wrong, that's not who we are. I know that's not who Jane is, but sadly that increasingly is who the Liberal Party is.
Yes, a white man attacking the character of an Indigenous woman and accusing her of racism. The far-left Labor troglodytes can't even play by their own stupid rules. We also had the hapless and hopeless leader of the opposition, Susan Lee, hitting the airwaves, seeking to correct things that were never said and making the sort of pointless motherhood statements despised by voters. It was a sort of charmless charm offensive that makes you cringe.
Every day that I'm opposition leader, I'm fighting for every single Australian, no matter where you came from. And our Australian Indian community are amazing. You contribute as Australian Indians so much to our country. We know how hard you work, your family values and the contribution you make across this country.
Oh, thanks, Susan. But from what I heard, Senator Price had said nothing about the contribution, work ethic or values of the Indian community or other migrants who have come to Australia in record numbers in recent years. She was simply pointing out that one of the reasons the Labor left adore mass migration is the electoral advantage they see in the country's shifting demographics. Of course, Indian Australians make a valuable contribution, and it's worth noting they have a much lower crime rate than many other migrant groups. If Susan Lee was serious about convincing more migrants, including those born in India, to vote for the Liberals, she should start by resigning as opposition leader. The truth is, many in the Indian community, along with other migrant groups, are socially conservative and they're highly aspirational. They are natural conservative voters, and the Liberals wear the blame for failing to effectively engage with them. But the left should not count on migrants for blind, enduring support. Donald Trump has shown that supposedly rusted-on voters can change sides given the right candidate and the right policies. In the 2024 presidential election, he achieved the highest percentage of Hispanic voters of any Republican candidate in history, and he did remarkably well with other migrant groups, including Asian voters. The Liberal Party also has an issue with Chinese Australians who swung heavily to Labor in the 2025 poll. And again, it should not be controversial to point out that there's a reason why both the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen and the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese have not condemned former Victorian Premier Dan Andrews' appearance at a Chinese military parade. They know there is political capital in that trip. Indeed, far from condemning Andrews, Premier Jacinta Allen was praising her former boss for cozying up to the Chinese Communist Party, claiming it was good for Victoria that he was held in such high regard by the people of China. She also said Victoria is an old friend of China and these connections are so valuable for our state. Labor knows all too well that many migrant voters feel a sense of loyalty to their motherland and they're not above manipulating those feelings for electoral gain. And Labor don't give a stuff about migrant groups, let's be honest. Just look at the poor services, the poor infrastructure that many growth areas full of migrants receive. If the coalition want to appeal to these voters, they need to grow a backbone and back policies that give all voters a clear choice at the ballot box.